Okay.
So thank you so much for your time today, Representative Clark. So I wanted to just kind of start out. Are you a Phoenician? Were you born and raised in Arizona?
No, I was a military brat.
Okay.
My dad was in the Air Force. I was born in California, but we moved a lot. Germany was the first place we moved when I was like 6 months old. Came back, jumped around, ended up in Arizona in '82 when I was 11. And then we went to my high school was overseas. Came back to NAU, did that, got my degree, went to get my master's in DC, and then I went from there to Sarajevo in the 90s and worked there for a couple of years, and then came here in '98. So I've been here since then.
Okay. What do you think is the biggest issue that we need to work on as a community right now?
Boy, it's hard. Catch me on a different... It depends on the day you catch me on. Like yesterday I was listening to a podcast talking about the severity of global warming and how even aside from the Trump administration ignoring or just tearing down the whole Kyoto Protocol or attempting to reversing all of these important things, we were not even nearly on track to try and reduce greenhouse gas emissions. And what does that mean? Which is frightening. Human beings are really bad about thinking long term. And one of the comments out of the podcast is that you need the arts to help people, help communicate that message, to help people understand that, we need to think long term. As humans, we're hardwired to think very short term. But, every time I start talking about something like that, or, human rights issues, or education, I always come back to the same thing, and that's voting systems. This is a, complicated, oily, noisy machine here at the Capitol, but it still holds true that the outcome is only as good as the input. And if as a system in Arizona, if the political system is making it harder for people to vote, making it harder for them to see the dark money, the hidden corrupt money in the system, going out of this way to deprive people access to the polls, then you're not going to get a true, input. I would also add redistricting as an issue that we need to fix. But if those things are not working, there's no policy that we're going to be able to do right. Because somebody is going to find, they're going to use the problems in the system to favor them. And in this case, it's the Republican Party. The difference in voter registration numbers between the Republicans and the Democrats is, I think, basically 5%. Oh, okay. The difference between Republicans and Democrats in this entire chamber, 25, 10, is about 20%. No, 12 or 15% difference. Oh, wow. Right? So the legislature does not represent what's happening out there, and that's because of redistricting. In fact, John Oliver, his most recent show, was about this topic, and he's done it before. And he'll look at the whole country and see the massive difference between how people vote in mass, the straight population, versus what redistricting does. Anyway, I'm getting off on a tangent. The point is, all of these things put us in a situation where it's harder to make good policy. If you want good policy, the sad news is you got to get wonky, you got to come down here, you got to get involved and help us fix the election system.
So for people maybe who work during the day and can't come down here during the day,
I know.
How do we engage them in ways that can produce that type of result?
Well, a couple things. First, we have the request to speak system here. Okay. And you have to come down the first time, set up your... Am I out of your shot now?
No, you're good.
Set up your request to speak profile, at a little kiosk downstairs. But then thereafter, if you want to speak on a bill, you can log in, see when the committee is, go to that committee, and tell them what you think. Now, the next question I get from people is, I don't even know the first thing about the Arizona Legislature website. I don't know how to track a bill. I don't know how to find a bill. Well, it just so happens that on June 24th, a number of us are putting together the first of several conferences called We the People Summits.
Okay.
We've already secured Phoenix Convention Center.
Okay.
We expect about 3,000 people.
Okay.
And we are going to have 36 breakout sessions with workshops and panels, and they're going to be things like how to understand the legislative process, how to be effective, how to do citizen lobbying. So, in the shorter answer to your question is, if you can't get down here during the day, there is plenty that you can still do. And I understand people are working more than one job, and it's tough, but it's your democracy. Yeah. So you gotta have to find a way. If it's at night and you want to log in and have your say about the bill, that's one good thing for sure. Come to the conference, and you're going to find two things. One is politics is not rocket science. The legislative process is not rocket science. It takes a little bit to learn, but it's really not that hard. If I can do it, you guys can do it too. I'm not a rocket scientist, in case you haven't noticed. I'm a realtor. Okay. But the other thing is that politics and public policy is like a soap opera. Or I should say, since we don't really have soap operas much anymore, a TV series, right?
Okay.
If you jump in the middle of the series, you're not going to know the characters.
Mm-hmm.
And you're not going to know the plot line. But if you stick with it, you're going to pick it up. Mm-hmm. So if you check in on a daily basis, learn who the players are, ask questions, send us emails, ask questions. We'll do the best we can, because in the end, you're going to learn the players of the soap opera, and you're going to become addicted. So basically, I'm a drug pusher of sorts. No, but I want people to be empowered, because we cannot do this alone. There are 25 Democrats in the House and 35 Republicans. And the quote-unquote moderate Republicans here are very disempowered because they don't have the votes to stand up to their bosses or to the other members of their caucus.
How many would you say there are of?
3. So
wow.
It used to be 15 years ago, there was, 2/3 of the Republican caucus was a little more moderate. You could count on them not to do some of the crazy stuff we're doing now. But here's the problem. So this is not partisan, I guess is what I'm getting at, is there are good policymakers across the board, but unless we are talking to them, unless we are developing personal relationship with them, unless we're getting out there and understanding the process, we're not going to win, and it's going to get worse. And I'm not trying to intimidate people and make them feel like, oh my God, I have to know as much as this guy. You really don't. Mm-hmm. Pick one issue, follow the bills on that issue, and go to the meetings that are out there. If you haven't seen this yet, go to indivisibleguide.com. Okay. That's the group of people who have put together a 20-page guide on how to resist the Trump administration's agenda. And
do you know if there are any local chapters here?
Oh yeah, this is the most incredible thing. Since the election, every meeting I've been to has had twice as many people.
Okay.
The Women's March here at the Capitol in January was supposed to have 5,000 people. Do you know they had 25,000 people there?
Wow.
The Indivisible Guide, if you go to that website, put in your zip code, it'll tell you the closest meetings.
Okay.
I was mistaken a month ago because I thought there were about 24 of those groups around the state. There are 60 of them.
Wow.
There's a group called...
Do you know how many in the valley here? Or?
I don't know for sure.
Okay.
I imagine 2/3,
okay,
because that's roughly the population distribution. But there are... And there are varying degrees of organized. Some of them are just a few people, and some of them are 250 people at each meeting. But if you go... also, there's a group called Stronger Together, Arizona, which is... They do a lot of work. Women's March does a lot of work. These are all people. The vast majority of these people are like you. Well, I'm not going to make an assumption about you, but you, the viewer, they probably have never been involved before. Most of them, I've talked to them, have not been involved before. I'll go to a meeting and say, how many of you have ever done any of this before? And like maybe a third raise their hands. And these people are learning, and they're figuring it out. And of course, there are those of us who've been slaving away at this for 20 years who are like, well, thanks for showing up, but I'm not going to complain because now we've got something to do. And thus the conference. The conference is there for two reasons. One is get all these people talking to each other.
Okay.
Networking. We'll have stuff all day to do, and we're probably going to try and put some entertainment together at night. And also skills building. I want someone who walks in there feeling like I've never been involved in this before. They're going to be able to go to 6 different sessions during the day. They're going to come out the other end, probably their head, hurting from all the information, but they're going to feel like, yeah, now I know what a citizen lobbyist can do. Now I know that I could help with research. Now I know how the political party systems work, so I can interface with them and get what I want. Now, so all these things. It's incredible what we're going to put together. And I'm not trying to oversell it like Donald Trump would, It's bigly.
So one more time, that's going to be at the Convention Center in downtown Phoenix?
June 24th.
Okay.
We're going to start selling tickets this Friday.
Okay.
Online. We don't have a website.
Okay.
We are just a bunch of people who go to Stronger Together AZ. Check out Facebook for the Indivisible groups. You'll start seeing those tickets go up.